A global battle paints over this year, and the year before that, and the year before that. It clouds every aspect of life. A battle between the two superpowers, the Soviet Union and the USA. A battle between communism and democracy, repression and freedom. This is Fyodor Lebedev, once a respected newspaper owner. He was a man who cherished his freedom. He had attended church every Sunday. He wrote articles with his own thoughts, and even visited his family in France. But all of that had been stripped away. Under Stalin's regime, any form of individual expression, whether in literature, art or film, has been silenced, replaced with unyielding communist propaganda. Fyodor lived in a time before Soviet control, and he still longs for that lost freedom. So one day, he decided to reclaim it. He wrote what he truly believed. The next day, the NKVD came for him. Now, Fyodor finds himself in one of the countless Russian gulags, forced to labour for daring to speak his mind. He is not alone. This is Viktor Ivanovic, an artist living in Brezhnev's USSR. Viktor's heart beats with artistic expression and creativity, yet his art can never truly be seen. The regime has silenced his works. Each day he is forced to create propaganda, glorifying communism, demonising democracy, and glorifying Soviet ideals. His true vision, however, remains hidden. His true vision, inspired by illegal American art smuggled into the USSR. These works speak to him, taunting him of a world where art knows no bounds. He dreams of a life where art isn't controlled by the regime's iron grip. He wishes he could let the world see his work, but he hides it. A quiet defiance at the place he calls home. He is not alone. This is Irina Nikolov, a teacher in the Soviet Union during the 1980s. However, what she teaches is forbidden, illegal. She hides it from the regime's ever-watchful eye. Irina has prided herself on teaching the truth. About countries beyond the borders, about democracy and freedom. Usually in Soviet classrooms, history is rewritten, perpetrators turn to victims, and horror is erased. But Irina knows otherwise, for her extensive collection of smuggled books and music. This shared to no one except her students, aware of the risks this poses. While Cold War tensions rage on the global stage, within the USSR the iron grip grows ever tighter. To even mention freedoms that are present in the West are a direct act of treason, a distinct threat to the safety of the country's regime. But even acts of rebellion that are careful and planned out don't stay unnoticed, and one day the inevitable happens. She gets reported. It could be anyone, a neighbour, a frightened parent, and Irina is taken away. Not to a gulag or a prison, but rather a place as equally feared, a psychiatric ward. Many who challenged the state were immediately declared mentally ill, diagnosed with numerous conditions like schizophrenia. The state fully believed that any who opposed the running of the country must be insane and mentally unfit. Irina is subjected to this cruel fate. She is sent to a psychiatric hospital, where her passion for teaching is beaten into submission. In the 1980s, the Cold War was at its peak. The world was on the brink of nuclear war. Behind the Soviets' Iron Curtain, people like Irina are silenced every day. In the West, education is seen as a path to critical thinking and freedom, but in the Soviet Union is merely yet another form of control. For many like Irina, the Cold War was fought not on the battlefields, but rather in the quiet expression of their minds and voices. She is not alone. Through the stories of Fyodor, Viktor, and Irina, the true nature of Soviet repression is revealed. The unrelenting grip on the lives of citizens. These individuals from different walks of life all represent the same ideals. A quiet defiance against their way of life, each longing for freedom. Each seeking individual expression through journalism, art, or education. Their struggles are not unique. Millions of people lived under the Soviet regime, and many revolted against it, risking everything. As we look back upon the Cold War and the ideological battle between the East and the West, let us also remember the ordinary lives impacted. The artists, the journalists, the teachers, and many more whose voices were silenced, but whose bravery has left a lasting legacy on the world. For them, the Cold War was more than a fight between two world superpowers, but a battle for the very right to live, think, and act freely.